Buenas a todos,
Hello,
chavales.
everybody. This is an audio test. This is the sound of my voice. Hey, Teo, what does your voice sound like?
My voice sounds like this, Jared.
Okay, you're a little bit louder than me. I'm going to adjust that. Leo, what does your voice sound like?
Yeah, that's what my voice sounds like. Don't really like it, but it goes.
I've gotten used to the nasally nature of my voice. Uh, Jacob, what does your voice sound like?
Mine sounds like this, but I think I like Tio's voice more.
Otro viernes más con el Star Citizen Live. Que en este caso tenemos al equipo de efectos especiales que están haciendo pruebas de audio ahí como estáis escuchando. Y bueno, pues falta un minutillo.
My passport.
Un minutillo, chicos.
No. Sneakers.
It's a good movie. It's a good movie. Sneakers. John Adelson. All right, guys, that's our audio test. We'll see you in about 1 minute and 20 seconds.
Bueno, pues ahí está, en un minutillo. Venga ahora. Yeah. Ahí. Ya empieza ahí. Vamos al lío, pues. Ay. Ole, Flumperio. Gracias por esa suscripción, hombre. 6 mesazos ya. Muchas gracias, tío.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Star Citizen Live, the VFX team. I'm your host, Jared Huckabee. And if you've never seen Star Citizen Live before, it's where we take about an hour out of the end of our week and chat with some of our developers, get a feeling of what they work on, sometimes what they don't work on, and take questions from you, the Star Citizen community. So let's jump right into it. No more me. Get everybody in the group here. The VFX team. Hello, gentlemen. Welcome.
Hi.
It's been a while since we've
Hello.
done kind of a roundtable Q&A. So let's take a few minutes now, introduce everybody because every show is somebody's first show. We're gonna start with you, Jacob. You go first.
Oh.
Who are you and what do you do?
Hello, I'm Jacob, and I'm a VFX technical artist at TNG.
What does a VFX technical artist do?
So mostly specialize in a software called Houdini. Despite the title, I don't always focus on VFX related stuff, and I'm kind of just anything relating to the software. I kind of tackle.
Me está diciendo que es técnico de efectos especiales y que lo que se dedica es a todo lo relacionado con el software.
That's what it was for the character tech art team. So
Yeah,
I'm
okay.
all around everywhere.
I find that tech artists generally bridge a gap between artists and like programmers and stuff. It's making tools and stuff like that to help other people do their work. Am I
Just to
wrong?
make life easier.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Save you time from having to do repetitive things.
Leo, who are you and what do you do for Star Citizen?
Hello, I'm Leo. I'm a VFX programmer. I program VFX. Basically,
Soy Leo, soy programador de efectos especiales y programo efectos especiales. Qué grande.
in-game make sure they're running like optimized, like the performance isn't too bad. Things like that.
How does a programmer work with artists? What's that relationship like?
So usually VFX artists come to me with like, we want to bring this to life, like this certain effect, and then we have a discussion about like how to implement it, how to make sure that like it fits in like the performance requirements, and like that we have the required tech as well to actually do it. When I go to them, it's usually when there is a problem, when they made a mistake in the data, and then I go to them and then tell them,
That's what I
you
was.
made a problem, please fix it for me.
That's what I was waiting for.
Dice que lo que se dedica, pues que cuando hacen efectos especiales, pues tienen que pues, programar o ver cómo va a ser, de tener unas acotaciones para no afectar al rendimiento y tienen requisitos también técnicos de los técnicos de efectos especiales. Y cuando tienen algún problema, pues es cuando él va normalmente a decirle aquí se cuece, ¿no? Se lió.
Me to fix it.
Fair enough. And Mike, who are you? What do you do for Star Citizen?
Yes, so I'm Mike. I'm the VFX director. So the VFX team is run by me, basically. So yeah, all of the stuff that the guys have just said, I sort of am the umbrella with which all that is underneath, I guess. I mean, there's a veil of potential.
Dice que este es el director de efectos especiales, entonces el equipo de efectos especiales, pues que él es el paraguas que recoge a todos, ¿no? Y Discolando le bromeó diciendo, ¿en serio? ¿Seguro? Es así, ¿no?
And get your hands dirty every once in a while.
I do, yeah.
Just yesterday on ISC, we showed the Dying Star lightning doodle that you were working on.
Yes, yeah.
So.
Yes, I did that. Yeah, I did that. I think you said it was an artist did it in a meeting. So yeah, I was just in another meeting and I had the editor open as we tend to do. Obviously, with the sort of world situation, we're all online in meetings a lot, but we're still sort of working in the editor. So yeah, I was messing around with the lightning regions, and the reason for that, I was legitimately doing work. I wasn't just playing. We're kind of revisiting the lightning with a view to a future release. So yeah, I just doodled with some effects and they looked okay, I think.
Claro, dice que con lo que nos enseñaron de Dying Star, de lo que vimos ayer en el Inside Star Citizen, que estuvieron trabajando en el equipo, le estaba preguntando Discolando, decía el director que realmente que solo estaban jugando, que no estaban realmente trabajando en algo serio, ¿no? Y probando cosas sin más.
Management team pull it out of the chat and send it along to me. We also put up a thread earlier in the week on Spectrum, the communication platform up on robertspaceindustrials.com, where we collected questions and let people vote up which questions they wanted to see answered most. As usual, a portion of the questions were for teams other than the VFX team. So if you're auditing the broadcast and you see that we're skipping some questions that were voted up, chances are it's because they were for a different team other than the VFX team. But right off the bat, we are going to start with the most voted up question. The most voted up question was a question for another team, but we went and researched some of the answer for you anyway. So we'll start right off. What is our progress on planetary in-atmosphere volumetric clouds?
¿Cuál es nuestro progreso en nubes volumétricas?
Just to reiterate what Joe just said, we aren't actually directly working on that. That is another team who's working on the.
Lo que dice es que ellos no están directamente trabajando en eso, que es otro equipo que se encarga.
I can say that I've seen some fantastic progress recently over the last few months. I guess things have really picked up there. I know that
Pero puede decir que ha visto un gran progreso en las cosas últimamente.
The clouds. Yeah, looking really good. We will come into that process at a later date, so definitely VFX will play a large part of making clouds work in the game. Our role there will be very.
Nosotros seremos parte del proceso también, será una parte importante de lo que es el tema de las nubes.
Similar with planetary clouds and gas giants and things like that. Obviously, with clouds, it's a very specific type of effect. So it's just helping with the sense of motion. So it'd be very misty and damp and the wetness, I guess, of clouds. So I think that's probably where our work will kick in. I know Leo will be heavily involved in that from a code side of things. Yeah.
What is the team that's?
Claro, dice que Leo, que el programador que por parte del código que estará encargado como de darle vidilla, vamos a resumirlo así, ¿no? Vidilla al tema de las nubes.
Overall, it's Marco's team, isn't it? Yeah,
okay.
Or tech group.
Well, yeah. I've been trying to get Marco on a show for years. It might happen someday. Speaking of clouds, let's go to rain. It's a bit dry in the verse right now. Can you help? That's literally what the question is. It's a bit dry in the verse right now.
Dice que es un poco seco, que no llueve en el verso. ¿Qué pasa con la lluvia?
Yeah, I mean, this kind of follows on from what I just said, I guess. So once we're in a position where the clouds are in and those hurdles have been overcome, then absolutely rain is going to be a consideration. You know, rain's going to come from clouds. So
Que dice que una vez estén puestas las nubes, que totalmente la lluvia ha estado puesta en consideración y pues la lluvia viene de las nubes y tal, así que primero tienen que estar las nubes.
clouds that have rain, there's going to be other considerations other than just the markup of the actual cloud. But you know, I remember you mentioning we're going to need to sort of understand that you're underneath the cloud for the markup for the rain, aren't you, as well?
Yeah, yeah. So for the clouds, we'll have to basically need to get access to the density of a cloud, and from there we'll have to kind of write systems that know like where are you compared to the cloud. Are you underneath the cloud? Like, is it a rainy cloud? Is it like not all clouds have rain.
Claro, dice que tienen que tener un dato de la densidad tienen que poder acceder a los datos de la densidad de las nubes, que no todas las nubes tienen por qué llover, tener la consideración de si tú realmente estás debajo de la nube para que se produzca ese efecto de lluvia.
Basics already, and for that, but like with clouds, that it will get a lot more complex.
Claro, dice que tenemos algunas bases para eso, dice, pero para escribir todo ese código y tal, que con las nubes que están haciendo ellos, se va a volver un poco más complejo.
What we'll need is like rain isn't just like raindrops falling. Everything needs to look wet as well. So our surfaces need to look wet.
Claro, dice que además la lluvia no simplemente son gotas de agua cayendo, sino que todo tiene que parecer húmedo y mojado, ¿no?
On your visor, and that will like help a lot with the feeling of rain. But like there are still quite a few things that will need to be done before rain actually gets in.
Are you looking forward to the days when you have to tackle this, or are you dreading it?
I'm looking forward to it. It sounds like a really exciting like project, and especially with the cloud.
Claro, dice que le emociona, que está realmente esperando el tema de poder trabajar en el tema de las nubes y la lluvia, que es algo que le apetece, ¿no?
Various weather effects. So why don't we just do kind of a catch-all topic on weather here? Mike, what are our current intentions as best as you know them? You know, realizing that this is a system bigger than just VFX. So, as you're aware of them, what are our current intentions for weather in Star?
¿Cuáles son las intenciones actuales para la climatología, no?
With CIG being CIG and with the project that we're working on, we want full weather systems eventually, don't we? We want all of that. We want it to be. You want to be able to see it when you're on the planet or the moon. You want it to be able to see it from space as well. So obviously we've got fantastic real world reference and footage of these phenomena.
Dice que en Cloud Imperium Games lo que quieren es un sistema completo de climatología, que además lo puedas ver desde el espacio.
You want to be able to have you're up in space, you're looking at the planet down there, and you can see this giant, let's just say a hurricane or a giant rain formation.
Claro, dice que puedes estar ahí en órbita y ver pues una especie de huracán gigante en un planeta o una formación de lluvia gigante.
It's those two extremes and everything in between, as always for our game, but for the VFX in particular. So yeah, sandstorms. I've seen people asking questions about sandstorms. I feel like just everything that you would expect from a weather system, we want to support that.
Claro, dice que incluso tormentas de arena, que ha visto gente haciendo preguntas sobre tormenta de arena, que todo lo que puedas esperar de un sistema de clima, de cómo se comportaría el clima, pues lo quieren introducir en Star Citizen.
This tech as far as we possibly can. That's not the same as us sitting here saying Mike's not saying here today there will be hurricanes in the game. He is saying that we absolutely want to pursue that in every other weather system, whether they make that in.
Claro, dice Discolando que esto no significa que habrá huracanes en el Star City, sino que vamos a perseguir eso, ¿no? Que van a perseguir que todo eso sea posible.
Yeah, and the reality is that it wouldn't just be a VFX thing anyway, because the VFX team would create a thing that looks like a hurricane, but if we're talking about weather systems, then you know that's much higher up the chain. That's a very fundamental game system there. Yeah.
And we've already seen a lot of the ground.
Claro, de que el equipo de efectos especiales podría hacer simplemente un huracán, pero hay que tener en cuenta otras partes del equipo que están mucho más altos en la cadena, en los fundamentos del juego. Y claro, pues en Huracán Star Citizen sabemos que no simplemente sería un efecto bonito.
That already in place now through the work of the Planet Content team. So it's definitely something we're moving towards. What kind of visual effects can we expect with future stars and suns? Right now, we've only got the one sun at the center of the Stanton system. Have you guys started prototyping other kinds of stars, other kinds of suns?
I know someone who could answer that.
Are they here?
¿Habéis estado haciendo prototipos de otros tipos de estrellas, aparte de la que vemos como Stanton?
Doing my work with gas clouds, where we needed to start simulating magnetic fields to try to create a bit more organic kind of feel and give a bit more detail and life into things. And it's actually, we can actually use that tech, and did try using it to create the details and vector fields to help move particles, to try and simulate the movement as with the sun, so you get the surface movement as well as some of the corona flares kind of coming out.
LOL. Está comentando de que han estado trabajando en campos magnéticos en las nubes y que han utilizado esa tecnología de partículas para poder dar una sensación de, vamos a decir, las ondas solares y demás, de cómo se vería el sol, ¿no? De cómo se movería.
Like an aurora borealis in the atmosphere of a planet or something?
Potentially, it does create that kind of aurora borealis kind of, it's partly due to positive ions kind of hitting the atmosphere, which is a magnetic field, and you get that movement because of the magnetic field. So you inherently get that movement from it. So yes, it can be used to generate the vector field required.
Se podría utilizar el campo magnético del que está hablando de las nubes y tal para producir una aurora boreal. Y dice que sí, que esencialmente sí se podría hacer una aurora boreal en Star Citizen.
Got many
Yeah,
different
yeah.
ways to do.
That takes me back. That was when we first had the spline guided particles, wasn't it? I think. Yeah.
The pyro system actually might require that sort of stuff. Sun flares mostly.
Right.
There was talk about it back when we did CitizenCon.
Yeah.
So more tests probably will be made towards that.
Yeah, I mean, we've had discussions with other teams actually regarding solar flares. One question that I would straight away ask with something like that is like, how close can the player actually get to that thing? Because Jake could make an absolutely phenomenally accurate looking sun-like creation with potential for really nice solar flares, but if design before that, take a step back, like if design decided that actually you couldn't get that close because there's no tech in the game, and this is just purely speculating, by the way, but if you can't get close enough to it, then why invest all that time and resources into making it look so detailed?
Is it oh, we'll get to that one later. Let's look at the chat here. How close are we to seeing lightning or anything dynamic inside gas clouds?
Estaban hablando del tema del sol, de que quizás una de las cosas requeridas para Pyro iba a ser el tema de las llamaradas solares y de que se ven representadas, pero que era un tema complejo por el tema de que en el motor no había esa tech que permitiese el hacer esas llamaradas solares, y que en cierta manera de por qué perder tiempo en hacer eso si no se voy a poder conseguir un detalle que ellos querían conseguir, ¿no? Entonces como que está ahí en plan la cosa en el aire. Y ahora están preguntando de si vamos a ver rayos en las nubes, ¿no?
Obviously, as I mentioned earlier on, like I've been looking at the lightning effects options that we've got in the game. We must have shown. I mean, I know we've shown over the last couple of years examples of really nice looking lightning. We can do really cool stuff in our engine. What I'm doing at the moment, part of my sort of ongoing Q1 task, is I'm looking at the tool set to sort of see if it's user friendly enough, to see if it can do all the things that I know we're going to need to be able to do when we have lightning in pyro locations, like say in a gas cloud in pyro. Perhaps the art director Ian wants that, let's just say, for example. I need to make sure that we're able to do that. And then the other side of it, what what we can't currently do, what we haven't fully implemented yet, is like the systemic placement of the lightning. So in various citizen cons, actually thinking about it now, we've kind of shown what we want to do in the gas clouds. We can currently manually place really, really good looking lightning, but we want to, and this is where Leo again would come in, and the other VFX programmers, we want to have a system where the data of the gas cloud drives those effects. So maybe design one lightning to...
Claro, aquí dice que quieren tener o sea, Leo, que es el programador de efectos especiales, lo que quieren tener es unos datos que conduzcan a que los rayos se produzcan basados en en los datos que tienen de las nubes, en lugar de tener ellos que hacerlos a mano, ¿no? Porque han hecho en varias ediciones han hecho eso, lo hemos visto en Pyro y demás, y quieren pues poder hacerlo, vamos a decirlo, procedural, ¿no?
But lightning is a very, very powerful thing that we've got in our game. Yeah, and it's really fun to play with this one. It's good fun.
So basically, it's all in Leo.
I mean, it usually is. You know, we're the artists. We just oh hey, I want to be able to do this really cool thing. Can you go and work out all the details, please?
No, we do have like a team of programmers for the VFX team as well.
Right.
So we'll share the burden. But yeah, I mean, like the lightning, it again, it's one of those interesting projects. I think they're almost all the projects we do are like interesting because
Me dice que los rayos que son otro de esos proyectos interesantes, pero dice que bueno, que casi todo lo que hacemos es interesante aquí en Imperium Caves, ¿no?
Location, like, what we want for our game, like everything needs to be systemic, so the lightning needs to be dynamically spawned, let's say, and currently we have the tech to place the lightning just in a level, but that doesn't really work at scale that we want to develop the game. So for us, like, we've had a lot of discussions about this already, and it will come down to like, how do we drive this lightning systemic? So do we have like some kind of electricity value in the gas cloud, and then different gas...
Claro, está comentando de que para la escala que ellos quieren trabajar, el ponerlos a mano los rayos evidentemente no funciona. Entonces, están pensando, ha habido conversaciones acerca de pues si hay algún tipo de valor eléctrico en las nubes o de cómo poder ellos resolver la situación de los rayos, ¿no? Cómo manejar el hecho de que haya un sistema para que produzca rayos sin necesidad de intervención por parte de un artista, ¿no?
We don't spawn too many like lightning objects and those kind of things. So it's quite interesting to work on these kind of projects.
One of the things I'm sorry, go ahead.
If you want a visual update on how that might look, if you catch the end of the main CitizenCon 2019 presentation, when the Carrack arrives in the Pyro system, there are some of those lightning events happening in the background. That's the system that we're talking about.
I think you made them, didn't you?
I placed them. Yeah. Yeah.
One of the things I really liked about your doodle that we showed yesterday, Mike, was how the emissive lighting system just followed the lightning out as the lightning was growing. You could see it, you know, emitting light throughout the cloud as it was going, and that was really cool.
Yeah, that's a good point. So yeah, 'cause I was testing two things at the same time then, because that was a custom build with the new particle lighting model that's underway. And again, Teo, I know you're a big fan. Caleb, our principal's been really putting it through its paces. Simon, the lead VFX programmer, has been implementing this new lighting model. And yeah, as you say, Jared, so having large scale sort of like dusty, cloudy effects, traditionally that's really difficult. Like, you know, we use texture. The bigger the thing is, the more obvious it is that it's using texture, and the less the lighting can affect smaller areas. But this lighting model is looking really promising. It's very physically based. That's I'm sure Simon's rolling his eyes as I just say that, but it's like there's a much more...
Están comentando en general de que, bueno, de que podíamos ver la idea de lo que sería poner un sistema de rayos, y que por eso pues estaban recordando el tema de la CitizenCon, de cuando llegó la Carrack a Pyro y tal. Y está comentando que trabajando en el tema de los rayos, que Discolando vio pues un doodle en el que se podía ver pues cómo el rayo salía de lo que era la nube y demás y cómo se comportaba y decía que era impresionante, ¿no? Y bueno, que eso es lo que estuvieron trabajando un poco, refiriéndose supongo al Dying Star, al mapa de Dying Star, y diciendo que hay como un tema de ajustar, ¿no? Porque si tienes demasiada textura en el rayo, pues no, o sea, se ve como un pegote, pero si tienes muy poca, pues al mismo tiempo, pues no produce los efectos deseados en la iluminación y que tienen un sistema de partículas muy prometedor para el tema de los rayos que estaban probando y tal. Y que está todo físicamente basado, lo cual están bastante entusiasmados con ese sistema, ¿no?
That we've had internally. I've seen you in meetings specifically about finding ways to improve that visibility.
100% yes. I mean that was very high up on the list when we did the shield rework using the SDFs. Definitely, I was conscious that the sort of the existing effects are just too intrusive on the wind, on the cockpit view. So that was 100% at the top of the list.
Cuando hicimos los efectos especiales de los escudos éramos conscientes de que era demasiado intrusivo en el cockpit, los efectos que hay ahora mismo en los escudos.
Annoyed, hopefully, by the impact effects. It's tricky because you got to find a balance because you still need to acknowledge that it's like that part of the shield is getting hit. We can't just cheat and just not have anything draw because then from a gameplay point of view, you've lost that readability. So it's just a balancing act that the artist has.
Dice que es algo complicado porque tú tampoco puedes hacer que en la cabina no se vea nada con el nuevo sistema, con el signo de distanciel, ¿no? Tiene que haber un feedback de que realmente te están disparando en esa parte.
It's one of my pet peeves, if I'm being honest, when especially with testing all the weapon effects, as I was doing a lot last year, getting that shield just covering the screen all the time. Yeah, we're gonna improve that.
Que estuvieron trabajando con el equipo de armas y que están trabajando durante o sea, este último año estuvieron trabajando en eso y tratando de mejorar esa sensación de efecto de disparar el escudo y verlo en el cristal, no en la cabina.
The quantum travel effects.
We do plan to do that. Yeah.
¿Planeáis actualizar los efectos visuales del Quantum Drive? Y dice sí, lo planeamos.
The effects team on their own would do like I hope I just don't sound like I'm repeating the same thing, but our effects are driven by other things. So there's a lot of kind of gameplay mechanisms that trigger the actual ship going into quantum travel itself, and our effects are very much driven by that. So there's a lot of factors there, speed and the spool up and all those kind of things. Lots of hooks.
Digo, los efectos que ellos hacen en el juego, que son, o sea, dependientes de otras cosas también, como en este caso las velocidades y demás.
With atmospheric entry and then we're using for shields. There's no reason why we shouldn't be trying to use SDFs on other effects, and quantum travel will be a great example.
Claro, dice que no hay motivo porque, o sea, que hemos visto cómo utilizaban el signo de distanciel para hacer la entrada en atmósferas y que no ve por qué no van a poder utilizar el signo de distanciel también para hacer los efectos de Quantum Drive, lo cual quedaría muy guapo.
We used some of Sam's footage in ISC yesterday. You know how we take community footage and we always kind of attribute who it was? We accidentally attributed his footage to Rexzilla, and we caught it after the episode went live. So, Sam, I see you in the chat. I appreciate your footage, and I hope you accept my humble apology for incorrectly attributing your footage to another Star Citizen. I had the opportunity. I was like, hey.
I just want to say our back, the footage that our backers show is just incredible. I never get bored of seeing it. It's amazing.
Yeah. Plus,
it helps us debug a lot of issues that we have in the actual.
Yeah, and it was great footage of the upcoming Stanton 7 race. And if you don't know what the Stanton 7 stuff is, check that out. Ask a friend, because that looks pretty cool coming up. All right. Is there any chance ships maneuvering VFX will increase in size or intensity in the future? The Carrack, for instance, demonstrates palpable vertical thrust cones when strafing upwards, but most spacecraft produce small candle-like flames representing multiple Gs. What were you thinking? No, I added that last part.
Yeah, definitely. So I just want to make sure I'm not the only person talking, by the way. I've got a habit of just saying things first. So, yeah, I mean, I appreciate that a lot of the maneuvering thrusters got that sort of potential for looking a bit like a candle flame compared to the main thrusters. Sometimes it's just the scale of the actual thruster item itself. You know, if the ship has a really small nozzle, then it's probably going to look even worse if I give it this ridiculously oversized, like 5 times longer than the ship effect. You know what I mean? It's not always going to work.
Right.
So it's definitely, we're sort of definitely at the mercy of the ship design in that sense. But there's definitely things like, I guess relating to that, we're doing some work at the moment on thruster wind volumes, and it's all sort of, what that is specifically is we want to make sure that the effects match the physical volume that these thrusters generate. Because I think it came in, did it come in 312? Or we got the thruster volumes? Teo, can you remember?
Yeah.
You're the force, like
Yeah, the
you being
physical
affected by
force.
the force. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so we just need to make sure that our effects properly match the physical force itself. So yeah, we're doing some work on that. Leo, I guess you got some knowledge on that system. If it's worth us talking about that a bit.
I mean, yeah, I feel like there are different things that we could do. Could, for example, like increase, like add a separate strength value, or like have some kind of dynamic behavior based on if you're in the atmosphere. We already do something similar for shock diamonds on the main thrusters. So potentially we could do like use like that data we do have anyway to do something special with those, like the smaller thrusters if necessary. I mean, the ground effects, as you mentioned, with like the per thruster wind volumes, I think they will help quite a bit as well to give more punch to the thrusters, especially if you're close to the ground.
Yeah, because that's the thing. Because it's not necessarily that we want like to have a really hot, emissive, long thrust effect that you can clearly see hitting the floor. If you're sort of high up and there's enough force coming from a smaller thruster that it's displacing all that snow.
Están hablando del tema de los... El tema del efecto que tienen los de llamarada, ¿no? Los impulsores y demás. Y está diciendo que, claro, que comparado... Que las naves pequeñas que como que tienen... o sea, que pueda cambiar lo que es el efecto dependiendo de los... dependiendo de las físicas de fuerzas de viento y demás. Y, por ejemplo, que si estamos más cerca de la superficie, pues que se pueda ver una llamarada más grande, o que si estamos pues a una altura, pues que se vea menos llamarada, ¿no? Pero que tampoco quieren hacer una super llamarada de los thrusters. Están preguntando eso si se puede mejorar de alguna manera, porque la gente como que no está contenta con los efectos producidos por los impulsores ahora mismo.
You guys, is this just one of those things that has to be that way in video games?
I mean, it can be. I guess it can be frustrating, but it's not. It is the way it's got to be. You know, audio are the most downstream, I should add as well, because any effects that we make, then audio got to like provide the audio that matches the thing we've made. But it's just part of the process, you know. As you say, like you said downstream, and that is a phrase that everyone hears a lot in CIG. It affects the scheduling, you know. Like we can't make thrusters effects until the thruster exists. So maybe from a scheduling point of view, it makes things more complicated because there's more. It's a bigger web, isn't it? There's more things that need to come into place. I don't think it's frustrating in the sense that that we get frustrated with other people at all. It's just the nature of the pipeline.
Están preguntando si les frustra el hecho de tener que depender de otros equipos para poder hacer su trabajo, poder seguir adelante. Por el hecho de que, bueno, pues para que ellos puedan hacer efectos impulsores, pues necesitan que se creen los impulsores primero para hacer esos efectos, ¿no? Y dice que no cree que sea frustrante, que simplemente cree que es parte natural del proceso.
But we work closely with them as well, you know, like we've got a good relationship with the audio guys. So
Claro, están hablando además del equipo de sonido, porque ellos, digamos que el equipo de sonido tiene que venir después del equipo de efectos especiales. O sea, o le ponen...
Joder, es que acabáis de perder discolando, macho.
Audio can make an effect look better. I think I might have said that in the past, but it's really true, you know, the weapon.
Se acaba de hacer con la lengua y soplando, no la voy a repetir porque te la... para hacer... En fin.
Latter half of last year.
Que Que no es para nada. O sea, que me refiero que el equipo de audio pues viene después y tienen que poner el tema del sonido después de que ellos hagan los efectos y que tienen una muy buena relación con el equipo de audio, ¿no?
Everybody on that team, and this isn't my attempt to get them to come back on the show.
I want to add to what Mike said that we're not always downstream either. Like in some cases, like some projects, we're actually the driving team almost, or we're in quite early that we become a driving team. For example, the weather effects or the planetary effects that we have on the planets right now.
Mm-hmm.
We were quite early with like starting to add those things. So we were in charge of actually implementing wind and like we needed the wind for our effects, and other teams have started using the same kind of wind system that we added because like if we have it, like they can use it just as well, right? And there are like some other examples like the fire that we're kind of working on right now that like it's again like a system that's very VFX heavy, but it will affect quite a lot of gameplay as well. Another one is like atmospheric pressure was something we already had, but like VFX team has been like implemented them on planets, gas clouds, like the support for planets and gas clouds because we needed them on like the pressure value because it drives a lot of our effects. So
Claro, está comentando de que no siempre son el equipo downstream, ¿no? De que le pasan las cosas de otros equipos o que tienen que esperar a que hagan las cosas de otros equipos. Porque hay ejemplos, por ejemplo, como en las llamas o el fuego, que el peso recae fuertemente en el equipo de efectos especiales, que eso afecta a otros sistemas de gameplay. O está poniendo otro ejemplo, que por ejemplo es la atmósfera de los planetas, que ellos fueron los que pusieron los valores de presión y de atmósfera, y entonces pues eso, porque ellos necesitaban eso para hacer ciertas cosas, ¿no? Entonces eso pues también afecta a la jugabilidad de otras partes del juego, ¿no? Afecta a otros equipos.
Have different atmospheric composition. Do you plan to design different re-entry VFX effects based on the gas being burned and the temperature it reaches on compression?
I think it's a really nice idea. It's definitely something that.
Está comentando de que bueno que en las composiciones de los diferentes planetas pues, pues pueden tener diferentes gases y basado en los gases que pueda tener cada luna o cada planeta, si planean hacer diferentes efectos de entrada por los gases que se estén quemando en esa entrada de atmósfera. Y comenta el director que es una idea excelente el poder hacer eso, ¿no?
Typical of our game, isn't it? You know, it's a visually nice feature, but it's also going to give sort of readability to the player from a gameplay point of view as well. So very important visually and for gameplay too. But yeah, in terms of the setup, I suspect that's perfectly feasible.
I actually I don't know if you remember. Oh, sorry, Leo. Go ahead.
No. Go ahead, you.
I don't actually. I don't know if you remember when I was working on the atmospheric entry effects. I actually pitched different colors based off the. That's a very large jug, Jared.
Oh, but my camera was turned off. They couldn't see it.
Different. I actually wanted that to be in the first release, but it didn't really make sense because first of all, we needed a stable visual state for it, but also we didn't have that many different atmospheric compositions. So anyway, that idea was put on the side, but yeah, as Mike said, it's possible and would look cool.
Yeah, from a technical point of view, it's definitely possible. We do have all the data available on the ship to actually trigger those effects. It would be kind of more a challenge to get like a good setup that's easy to set up for artists, and that's like systemic again. Like we always need everything to be systemic. It's necessary because like we want this to work on like.
Claro, está comentando de que estuvieron haciendo unas pruebas para los diferentes colores y decía que pintaba bien y que dice que claro, que a la hora de poder hacer esos efectos, que desde el punto de vista artista, que es de arte, que es fácil, pero ellos necesitan que en el juego todo sea sistémico, que no tenga que... O sea, que el humano tenga que intervenir lo menos posible debido a la escala del juego y que eso ya es más complejo, ¿no?
Kind of like an investigation of what affects what changes would we have based on the atmosphere. So does it affect?
Claro, tendría que hacer una investigación de, pues, dependiendo en el tipo de atmósfera que tengan, qué cambios se van a producir, ¿no?
Like those kind of things, and then we need to go or like artists at least will go and like do pre-production, and I think Mike can tell more about it, but it's like artists will tell us like what do they want, and then we go and discuss like options of.
Claro, dice que los artistas le dirían en este caso, o sea, tendría que ir a preproducción, ¿no? Y decía, pues los artistas le dirían qué es lo que buscan y ellos pues tendrían, o sea, y en programación, ¿no? Tendrían que tratar de, pues, de mirar a ver qué opciones hay, ¿no? Ofrecer opciones para lo que ellos quieren hacer.
Really simple, or something that we've done a lot of before, let's just say like a muzzle flash. The pre-production still exists, but it's probably a very small task, like identifying, yeah, there's an existing weapon in the game, it needs to look like this, so there you go, we've ticked that box, we know what it needs to look like. But for something exploratory, like what Leo's describing, it really is, it's just going through a process of understanding what it could look like, what it needs to do from a gameplay point of view. Is it performant? Is it going to be just ridiculously complicated to implement? Like, is it going to be a year of a programmer's time, etc., etc.? So yeah, lots of exploration in pre-production.
Que al final hay que mirar pues cuánto tiempo le puede llevar a un tipo de programación llevarlo, si le va a llevar un año programarlo, o sea que tienen que hacer mucha exploración e interacción, o sea, de investigación, de mucha preproducción, dice, ¿no? De valorar si merece la pena hacer algo o no.
With the shield effects rework coming soon, will we see unique patterns for shield manufacturers and a fusion of different patterns, perhaps when mixing shields?
They
want customized VFX, man. They want customized.
It's entirely feasible, and it's definitely something we talked about. So I think that the main thing for me is that I want to get to a point where the tech that we've got and.
Están preguntando si podremos tener, basados en los escudos que llevemos, efectos de escudo personalizados, ¿no? Dependiendo de la marca que estemos usando, que tengan efectos de efectos. Se dice que es perfectamente viable, pero es curro, ¿no? En resumidas.
We like to, with all our VFX, we like to theme them. We like to be able to make the effects different per manufacturer. We've done that with thrusters for however many years I've been here, nearly 7. So yeah, I think it's perfectly feasible. We're actually.
Dice que llevamos hablando de esto desde hace mucho. Dice no sé cuánto tiempo llevo aquí, cerca de 7 años. Dice que lleva en pleno de Imperium Games. Y dice que la idea es hacer, no solo para escudos, sino para todo, hacer para cada fabricante diferentes efectos especiales, ¿no? Ya lo hemos visto en el tema de los Quantum, pues impulsores, escudos, todo, ¿no?
I might go to you and say, hey, how can we use Houdini to quickly generate some nice variety of 3D textures? I'm not asking, just to be clear, I'm not asking you to do that as a task. It's just a theoretical question.
La cara que puso fue la hostia el rubio, porque le dijo, ¿cómo podemos ir a Houdini y pues en Houdini pues hacer... Porque claro, él preguntó al técnico, ¿no? Y la cara que puso fue en plan de me cago en la puta. ¿Cómo podemos hacer para poder tener una variedad de efectos sencilla a través de Houdini, ¿no? Entonces dice que quede claro que no es una petición, es simplemente una hipótesis, tal.
As a third person,
la cara que puso fue brutal,
quantum entry and exit VFX when another ship jumps in or arrives in the future. I know this has been a long talked about thing.
Yeah, this is a this is a topic that crops up all the time. To be honest, like it's something that design will regularly remind me needs to be a thing, and it's all about the setup again. So it's to do with the hooks that we've got from the system, from the underlying system, and if it provides us with the opportunity to spawn an effect, then yeah, we'll do it. Teo, you did a kind of a pitch, didn't you, for quantum travel improvements, just generally? So
yeah,
that played a part, didn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I like things to be clear what's happening. When there's your jug, Jared. So when ships arrive in your vicinity, it would feel it's sound and look so cool if there was something really punchy there, because it's an aggressive sort of action that's happening. So I would love, yeah. I mean, for me, I love all the sci-fi tropes of ships jumping in with like very large flashes, and yeah, I've tried a couple of things, and I'm hoping to. I think I had a task to actually work on it, and then it disappeared because other things came into priority. But
yeah, we've moved it around, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean the when we first did quantum travel, because it's gone through some iterations, and I mean the actual underlying.
Me están hablando del tema del Quantum Travel, de hacer un efecto más marcado de cuando estás en la proximidad o cuando una nave sale de Quantum en las proximidades. Que a él le gustaría hacer algo más espectacular. De hecho, estuvo trabajando en algo, tenía una tarea programada, pero si recuerda que fue retrasada o por el tema de que había otras cosas en prioridad.
Hopefully, I've not rambled too much there, but yeah, we acknowledge that's going to be a thing.
Dice que son conscientes de que eso va a ser algo importante, ¿no? Que van a tener que hacerlo.
What's the most impactful VFX that you've done that no one thinks to ask about? There's a bit of if you do your job right, no one
¿Cuál es
notices.
el efecto visual más impactante del que nadie pregunta, ¿no? En el que ha trabajado y el que nadie pregunta.
I'm sure everyone in this chat's got something. Does anyone else want to go before I start rambling again?
I would just say that the conversion work we did from CPU particles to GPU particles, I think is something that no one really noticed and nobody really talked about, but it had an incredible impact on performance. Just the other day when I
El trabajo que hicieron de pasar las partículas de CPU a GPU que tuvo que tuvo un impacto muy grande en cuanto al rendimiento.
A reduction in sort of this kind of like a micro lag. I don't know, like it wasn't a drop in performance, but it did feel better. And yeah, that's not talked about a lot. And the entire team does a lot on for that work.
That's a great shout, yeah, because yeah, a lot of our, even though we've had the GPU particle system for a long time, just for the sheer volume of effects in our game, that there are still quite a few CPU ones that we want to eventually replace with GPU. And as Teo said, doing that actually provides not necessarily, so it's slightly intangible, but it provides a performance boost. And actually, in our game, a really small performance boost for one scenario like that. If you think about 20 ships, however many ships, all firing that weapon, the performance gains are big, and that's a huge win for the player. I guess I've got kind of a similar sort of thing, I guess, but we got laser projectiles. We had the VFX programmers gave me a minimum pixel distance option on the projectile shader that we use, and what that means is that I can keep that projectile, as long as it's alive and it's on screen, it just keeps it at a minimum amount of pixels. And even though that's a really minor thing seemingly, in the field of battle, that was absolutely invaluable, because it meant that you could still see them. It's just a readability thing. It just meant in combat, it just made a difference that people probably wouldn't have really thought much of.
Luego, otro tema que comenta él es el tema de los láser, de los disparos láser, que le fue dicho por parte del equipo de Global Imperium Games de que tuviese la mínima cantidad de píxeles posibles, y el trabajo que hizo eso, que todavía se pueden seguir viendo en combate, que fue algo bastante importante para lo que es el poder ver el combate, el tener una respuesta a lo que está pasando en un combate, que parece que no... Que es algo importante, ¿no? Para el combate.
As long as like the planet and the gas clouds are set up with pressure and temperature and humidity combinations, it will work with different combinations, and it means less setup for artists. So as long as they make sure the effect is set up on the ship, they don't have to tweak values of like, we want this here, this there. It's been like a kind of long process, but I think we got like some good formulas, like physically based formulas, and it's quite satisfying finding those and making the future setup for ships and like anything better for artists and easier.
Has anybody ever told you you look like Obi-Wan Kenobi?
LOL. ¿Alguien te ha dicho
No,
alguna vez
it's
que miras
first.
como que te pareces a Obi-Wan Kenobi? LOL.
No, really not. Like,
No, realmente no, dice.
I've
Puto disco
been
tío.
compared to another YouTuber, famous YouTuber, but never Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Can you just say hello there?
Hostia, tío.
Can you just say
I'm sorry?
hello there?
Qué
You just say,
grande.
hello there.
Hello there.
Oh,
Hello there.
How about you are the chosen one?
Eres el escogido, eres el
You are the
chosen
chosen
one.
one.
You're the chosen one.
this is too much.
Qué grande.
Sorry, chat's been having fun with it, so they think you look like Obi-Wan Kenobi, which is a good thing, by the way.
Yeah, yeah.
Claro,
I was
dices
just
cuando
going
cree
to
que
say
te
that's-
pareces a
that's
Obi-Wan Kenobi, lo que es una
Better
buena
than
cosa
what I get half the time.
Leo has a very
dices por algo.
Jedi-like presence, I'd like to add.
I think that's probably
when
what
you're in
lends
the
to
room
it.
with
I think
him,
that's probably
you
what
know,
lends to it.
yeah.
It's a diversion.
Qué
Gas
grande.
clouds currently look great from perspective, but once inside, it's very difficult to see their beauty and volume, feeling more like a thick fog. In a recent video you were working on, we saw that you were making them react to sunbeams and other light sources. How is that going?
Yeah, so for the initial gas cloud release that went into 3.12, we did have the effects, the interior effects, and when I say interior effects, I mean all the kind of small, high velocity, high sort of detail noise that gives you that sense of parallax. We had all that working and it was all ready to go, but unfortunately there were just some of the hooks, like we were dependent on it was the pressure value, wasn't it, of the gas cloud via the room system that wasn't quite ready to ship because there were some knock-ons to the actor status.
Bueno, está comentando un poco sobre el meterse en tema de las nubes, que simplemente parece que es una nube densa y tal, y que los rayos de luz todavía no se ven como se debieran, que tenían algo preparado, como los anclajes preparados, basado en la presión de las nubes y demás, pero que no lo pudo liberarse en el actual parche todavía, que solo explicaron el postmortem.
Creating the gas cloud in the first place, don't you, for the artist, or you're integral to that process. So yeah, losing my thread here, but yeah, we're working on it, and it's all happening. It's all going quite well. I think Teo and Leo got together and added a really nice new feature, which is. Do you want to talk about that? The collision effects.
Yeah, sure. It's basically inside the gas clouds. Some of them are themed differently. Some of the themes are like asteroid field or mining themed, and you would expect little rocks or micro asteroids flying about. And when the ships go quite fast, so when they do go quite fast, you'd expect those items to interact with the ship. So the rocks would interact with the ship's hull and break apart as you fly through the gas clouds. There'll also be some metal bits in some cases, but yeah, all of those will interact with your ship and it'll feel really cool. And audio actually are hopefully
Dice que están trabajando en
una
una característica, ¿no?, que van a implementar de colección, de que cuando vayamos a través de esas nubes de gas y demás, que haremos como pequeñas rocas o incluso partes de metal estallar contra la nave, chocar contra el casco, y que vamos a ver esos efectos de sonido y todo y demás. Ojo,
So it's using the SDF. It's using the same kind of system for dynamically placing the emitter so that it follows the direction of the ship. And kind of it was like a relatively quick thing to add on our side that I think will give a lot of like extra nice like environment.
Dice el programador que conseguirán de esa manera pues un extra, una mejoría extra en el aspecto de nuestros entornos, ¿no?
Not longer, since the extremely cool heat haze effect on Daymar disappeared completely. No matter if in cold or really hot conditions, are there plans on bringing this effect back to Daymar?
Yes, there are. I want to make a bad joke about it being hot, not cool, but yeah, I mean, it was something. I think it was just something that the actual effect itself is a fairly simple one, but I think as part of various amazing improvements to the planet tech itself. I think that it kind of just got lost in the way, if I'm being completely honest. But yeah, the creation of the effects dead straightforward. We just need to figure out the appropriate way to hook them back up again. And actually,
El efecto de calor que
it'll be
veíamos
systemic
en Daymar, ¿no? Que si lo van a volver a traer de vuelta, porque antes veíamos como el mítico efecto de calor que vemos ahí en una pista de asfalto cuando hay mucho sol y demás. Y que dice que para ser honesto, que simplemente con el tema del nuevo repintado de planetas y demás, que puede que se haya perdido, la nueva tecnología de planetas, que simplemente se haya perdido. Pero que lo traerán de vuelta, claro.
But
That's what I like about Leo. So Leo, I just ask a simple, well, not a simple question. I ask for something, and Leo goes and researches the actual real world criteria for something occurring. So then we get it all in the game.
Speaking of real world criteria for stuff, how are the directional rain and snow effects going in regards to wind direction? When this player strafes sideways in inclement weather, the water seems to still flow as if they're moving forward, regardless of which direction they're facing. What's happening there?
It should. I think I'm allowed to say it should be working. It should be like the setup that we created for those directional effects was incredibly complex actually, and the intricate setup, and it is actually taking the direction and the wind strength and direction, isn't it, Leo?
yeah. So we're using the movement direction, the wind direction, the gravity, I think, as well. There, like, it might be a bug where like we're simulating the rain erupts on a flat plane, and the plane is then kind of wrapped around, or like it needs to be wrapped on the different faces of the canopy and like the glass. So either there is something wrong with like the UVs which map the flat plane to the mesh, or it's one of the edge cases where the, like, because it's simulated on a flat plane, we can't really get all the direction perfectly like covered. And
Claro, están preguntando sobre el tema de la lluvia, de por qué, bueno, pues en la Mercury directamente pues se ve que sube y luego sube, ¿no? Aunque debería de bajar porque tiene como una parte, digamos así, ¿vale? El cristal. Entonces por aquí sigue subiendo el agua cuando debería ir para abajo, ¿no? Y dice que, bueno, que realmente el tema de las gotas de agua y demás, que está todo perfectamente, cuando lo vemos en el casco o en el cockpit, que está bajo, tiene en cuenta la gravedad, el viento, el movimiento de la nave, o sea, la incidencia del viento en el casco, en el cristal, ¿no? Entonces está diciendo que realmente que lo que sucede ahí que debe ser uno de los casos límite que tienen, en el cual la tecnología pues solo pueden hacer ese efecto en un mismo plano y todavía no pueden hacerlo en dos planos diferentes, y entonces pues tienen que corregir, o sea, tienen que hacer de alguna manera pues evolucionar la tecnología, supongo, para que eso se pueda hacer.
Eventual rework of the quantum travel effects, and this would be a great use case for it. If you think about the change we made to the atmospheric entry effects with SDFs versus the old one, just think of the same kind of thing with the quantum travel. I'm not saying visually, but with the use of the shape of the ship and the more authentic looking interaction. Yeah. So.
Okay, let's see what else. Why don't the Carrack's engines have heat waves, the visual heat that the engine flames create, like the Hammerhead or so many other ships?
So I saw this question.
¿Por qué la carga no tiene los efectos de calor de los motores, como por ejemplo tiene la Hammerhead?
It's my favorite ship, Mike.
It's a beautiful ship. I was a bit confused because I thought it was a bug initially. I just thought, oh, maybe it's just not working as expected. But it just looks like the settings needed a bit of tweaking. So that's something I started playing around with. Actually, I need to make sure I've got that file checked out because I made some changes yesterday to it to get the heat haze back again. So yeah, that should be coming in a future patch.
Nice. Let's see. Okay, let's. So I'm trying to get more in from the live here. Do you have any more types of space anomalies, like your work on gas clouds planned? Comets, black holes.
¿Tenéis alguna anomalía espacial más, como cometas, agujeros negros?
I mean, black holes. I'm not sure that we've done any research into that so far, but comets have come up in conversations for sure. I think when we started to show
De agujeros negros no recuerdo ninguna conversación que haya venido, pero de cometas seguramente sí que ha venido a conversaciones. Ha salido a la palestra, ¿no?
it passing through the atmosphere, but it's right off in the distance, and it just looks like a burning up meteor. And you were probably in it, Jared, but it was in one of the weekly updates, and immediately Ian was talking about, I mean, yeah, let's be great to get loads of comets coming through. And then the designer's like, yeah, but then it's going to land somewhere, and then it could be like a new location, and there's all these gameplay opportunities.
Dice que claro, que realmente que vamos a ver, que estaría muy guapo ver un cometa, tal, hablando de esa conversación interna, sí, pero luego vas a tener que hacer que aterrice en algún sitio y tal, y dice, guau, pero es que así tenemos nuevas oportunidades para poder hacer un evento ahí cuando el cometa se estampe y tal. Pero que al final que eso es curro.
The wormhole jump gates would be a space anomaly, right?
Mm-hmm.
That'll happen at some point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, last question, gentlemen. What's a future system / process / mechanic not yet implemented in the game that you're most excited?
¿Qué característica de
Definitely
estáis?
fire for me.
Vale.
Fire
¿Qué
because
característica estáis más entusiasmado por ver en el futuro del juego que todavía no está implementado? Dice el fuego.
not really even to do with the visuals, but just the gameplay opportunities that it brings, and the sheer game-changing nature of it, and how all departments at CRG need to come together to really.
Claro, debido a los cambios que va a producir en el juego y cómo todos los departamentos de Cloud Imperium Games van a tener que juntarse por cómo afecta al gameplay, ¿no? El sol fuego.
Also in the possibilities, yeah, Leo, obviously, you and Pat in particular, but the VFX programmers are just creating some amazing setups.
Dice Leo que ha creado un setup impresionante para el fuego.
Big project I'm currently working on, so it's the same answer for me.
Yeah.
Like,
dice que es el proyecto en el que está trabajando ahora mismo, dice que es la misma respuesta para él, ¿no? Que es lo que más ansía, el poder ver el fuego en el juego.
But currently we're kind of working on getting it working with the rest of the game. So before we had like a separate kind of like prototype, and now that we're kind of implementing it and integrating it with the rest of the game, there are some kind of nice situations that kind of already pop up and like problems to solve. So yeah, it's.
Dice que ahora mismo lo están entrando en el juego, que ya han surgido algunos problemas y situaciones interesantes debido al fuego y demás.
Has been the outposts, following them each week. So I try to lay off so that some of the surprise can still be preserved for players to discover in the game. I think sometimes people think the job is to spoil everything in the game in our videos and just to show everything, but we do actually attempt to balance that stuff and preserve some stuff.
¡Qué cabrón! Dice Discolando que hay... Dice que... Espera.
That's the show. You made it. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here. Mike, Leo, Teo, and Jake, thank you so much. We're gonna raid. We haven't raided anybody in a while, and I'm getting a message from Tyler here that we're gonna attempt to raid somebody right now. They have no idea it's coming. It's a Star Citizen streamer who's broadcasting right now on Twitch. Their name is Subliminals TV.
Dice que le van a hacer una raid a un compañero streamer.
One time, a couple months ago, they were working on becoming a full-time streamer if they could. So I have no idea what they're doing because I've been here doing this show. So be sure to wipe your feet before you walk in the door. Behave yourselves and say, and when you get there, in your best Obi-Wan voice, say, "Hello there," on behalf of my friend Leo. We'll see you all next week, everybody. Take care.
See you.
It's just a better version of the AA.
Oh, okay, cool. Mercury Star Runner, Fortuna Paint.
Bueno, estábamos viendo ahí lo que decía Discolando al final de todo, ¿no? Decía de que no siempre spoilean todo, que hay cosas que se tienen que guardar y que hay sorpresas que están por llegar y que, por ejemplo, que no pudo hablar durante 6 meses de la Xenothread y pues que se cuece, que se puede cocer, ¿no? Que hay sorpresas que pueden llegar. Así lo ha querido soltar. Y bueno, pues voy a cortar el live, chicos, y lo voy a volver a arrancar para que esto quede pues para la gente que no haya podido verlo ahora y tal. Y vemos ahora.